In the ever-turning wheel of time, few characters command the same quiet intensity and world-shaking influence as Moiraine Damodred. Power doesn't always roar. It whispers. It plans. It waits. That's the essence of Moiraine's strength. She's not just another Aes Sedai wielding fire and wind. She is history in motion. She bends prophecy to purpose, and though her raw strength in the one power has limits, the ripples of her choices shake the pattern itself. When we first meet her in Emond's field, she's shrouded in mystery, cloaked in a blue dress and veiled intentions. But from the moment she steps onto the page or screen, you know she's dangerous in a very different way. Not because she's loud, but because she's always the one with a plan. Heavy spoilers ahead from the books. Please take care. Before her tragic encounter with the eelfin and elfin, Moiraine was among the strongest women in the White Tower. Her original strength ranked just beneath Cadsuane Maladrin, and she stood equal to titans like Suin Sanshay, Elida Du Averny Eroihin, and Lelaine Akashi. Her strength level in the One Power was officially noted as level 13, rank 1, placing her among the elite. She was part of a generation that had seen better days, but even then, she outshone most of her peers. Her natural affinities included cloud dancing, weather control, and healing, which was particularly strong for her. She was also one of the few living women cited by Varen Mathwin as having enough power to use the Chodan Cow, some of the most powerful Esangriel ever made. That's not just a compliment. That's the line between ordinary greatness and the stuff of legends. Moiraine could fight too. She once used the One Power to create a wall of fire and an earthquake that wiped out hundreds of Trollocs and halted 3 Myrddril. And she did that while wielding an Ongriel, an ancient artifact that amplified her power. That's not subtle magic. That's battlefield-level might. And yet, she herself admitted she wasn't at her best with earth or fire. Still, holding off Aegonor, one of the Forsaken and nearly as strong as Luz there in Telamon, even for a short time, was no small feat. She survived only because she wielded one of the tower's Ongriel. But power always has a price. After throwing herself and Lanfear into a Terangriel doorway to save Rand from the Forsaken's influence, Moiraine vanished. Everyone believed her dead, especially Lon, who felt his bond with her vanish. In reality, the Eelfin and Elfin had imprisoned her and, far worse, fed on her ability to channel. By the time she was rescued by Mat, Tom, and Jane Farstrider in the Tower of Genji-Eye, her strength in the One Power had been so reduced, she wouldn't have passed the test to become accepted. But even weakened, she did not emerge powerless. One of her 3 demands to the Eelfin was for a powerful Ongriel, a bracelet so potent it bordered on being Esangriel. With it, she could fight again, and this time, not just with fire and air, but with foresight and strategy. This is where Moiraine becomes more than her strength score. She isn't the biggest hammer in the box. Rand al'Thor, Nynaeve, and even Elaine eventually outshine her in raw power. But she is the sharpest scalpel. She never relied solely on how much of the power she could hold. Instead, she honed her skills with strategic mastery and brutal foresight. She spent years learning the world's secrets, studying prophecy, and, more crucially, preparing herself to die for the Dragon Reborn. The kind of power, the strength to see the world clearly and still sacrifice everything, isn't measured in levels. It's measured in courage. It's important to remember that the One Power isn't just about explosions and walls of fire. Channeling is complex. It's not how much fire you throw. It's how, when, and why you throw it. Moiraine understood this intimately. Even the Forsaken underestimated her, until it was too late. To measure Moraine's power, look at who she stood against and survived. In the eye of the world, she faced Aegonor, one of the most powerful Forsaken, knowing she couldn't win, yet still held him back long enough for Rand to rise. Later, at the climax of Season 3, she goes toe-to-toe with Lanfear, using the Sicarnan, Esangriel not present in her book arc, but brought into the show to emphasize just how epic their confrontation needed to be. Lanfear skewers her with Lan's own sword, but Moiraine, racked with pain, grief from Suin's death, and sheer rage, channels through Sakarnan and blasts Lanfear away, forcing the Forsaken to flee. That moment isn't just a physical victory. It's symbolic. Moiraine, the smallest of warriors, beats back one of the greatest monsters of the age, not with brute strength, but with iron will and unmatched resolve. Most channelers in the series approach the one power like a blade. Wield it fast, wield it strong, but Moiraine uses it like a needle. Her weaves are precise, efficient, thoughtful. She doesn't overextend. She prepares. She lies in wait. That's why she often feels more powerful than even Nynaeve or Egwene in the early seasons. Not because she can do more, but because she knows when to do it. Even her knowledge of secret weaves like Balefire came not through tower teachings, but through ancient texts and personal study. She cobbled together one of the most dangerous lost weaves simply because she knew one day she might need it. That's Moiraine in a nutshell. Always 2 steps ahead. Always holding a card no one else knows exists. In the last battle, Moiraine becomes one of Rand's most vital allies. She stands beside him and Nynaeve at Sheol Gul, linked through a circle to provide him strength. When Rand drops Calendar and Moridin picks it up, it's Moiraine and Nynaeve who seize control through the circle. They channel not just the one power, but the true power, something almost no one has survived. This isn't just strength, it's trust. Rand placed the fate of creation in her hands, knowing she would not flinch. And she didn't. When the world itself cracked, she stood her ground. Let's not forget what makes her truly terrifying to the Shadow. It's not her weaves. It's her will. She gave up her life, her strength, her standing in the tower. She accepted banishment, exile, and a future of pain. She carried the burden of prophecy for decades, keeping secrets even from those she loved. And still she held on. Where others broke, Moiraine bent. Like the flame of a candle, flickering but never extinguished. When Suin is killed in the show, Moiraine feels the oath between them break. Her grief is real. Her fury, volcanic. She could have surrendered. But instead, she reached for Sakarnan and reminded the world why you never, ever underestimate a blue. Power isn't just what you can do. It's what your presence changes. And in Moiraine's case, everything changes. She saved the White Tower by returning at just the right moment to bring Rand and the rulers together for the Dragon's Peace. She guided Rand away from madness and manipulation. She even helped birth a new age of understanding between the Aes Sedai and the Ashaman. When Rand thanks her for staying by his side, even when others fled, her near tears say it all. Even after her power was drained, she pulled the strings of the world's destiny tighter than ever. Her unreal let her keep fighting, but it was her mind that shaped nations. She began as one of the strongest Aes Sedai of her generation. She fought Forsaken with nothing but grit and cleverness. She survived the Eelfin, returned hollowed out, and still managed to save the world. She wielded ancient Unreal and Esengriel, outwitted enemies, and helped Rand defeat the Dark One. She fought fire with silk. She used her diminished strength with the precision of a master archer. She wasn't the sharpest sword, but she was always the blade that struck true. Even with her reduced strength, she made the impossible real. She took on the might of Lanfear, held her ground at the Pit of Doom, and reshaped the tower and the world. In the end, Moiraine was never just a channeler. She was the fire behind the dragon, the eye of the storm, the one who saw what had to be done, and did it, no matter the cost. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you as much as it moved us, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into the Wheel of Time.